This is Module 2, Lesson 2, Compare Rational Numbers on a Number Line. And this is the second lesson of this module. We're going to start over here in the side that is the box area about Mrs. Smith and Mr. Jones each have 30 students in their class. If Mrs. Smith corrected 3/4 of last week's math assignments and Mr. Jones corrected 5/8 of last week's science assignments, which teacher corrected the greater portion of the assignments? So, what we need to figure out here is, one second, is if we look at the fractions on this problem, they both have different denominators. What that means is this bottom number on the denominator, this one's a 4, and this one's an 8. So we have to get them to be the same thing on the bottom. So our first question is, what marks on the number line would you need to graph 3/4 and 5/8? Now, if we look at the bottom number, I have a 4 and an 8 like we talked about. We need to get the same number down there, so we need a common denominator. I know I can change this 4 into an 8 by multiplying by 2. So I'm going to change this 3/4 into something that has a denominator on the 8 on the bottom. So to change a 4 to an 8, I have to multiply by 2. Whatever I do on the bottom, I have to do the same thing on top. 3 times 2 is 6. I was telling you the answer already. So what marks do we need? We need to have 8s. Because we had to get a common denominator to make it easier for us to mark. Now we're going to put them on there. And they are both positive, so we're sitting on the right-hand side. So I need to go to 6/8. And if we count the number line, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 lines. So this is already kind of giving you a hint that we needed 8 spots. So 6/8, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I'm going to mark it with an S for Smith. And then the other one is 5/8, which is going to be right in front of it. I'm going to mark it in a different color though, so you guys can see it a little better. And I'm going to mark this one with a J for Jones. Now let's look down here. 3/4, which is our original blue right here. This is also 3/4. We just had to change it to an equivalent fraction that had an 8 on the bottom so we could tell it out a little bit different here. Should have written that in blue to match it up a little bit, but too late now. 3/4 is to the right of 5/8. Because remember, 3/4 we changed into 6/8 on the number line. So 3/4 is greater than 5/8. I'm just going to write a greater than sign right here instead of spelling out the word greater than. And let's go up here. And now they're going to want you to write the inequality, which I already did for you right there because I didn't feel like writing it out. So 3/4 is greater than 5/8. So Mrs. Smith corrected more than Mr. Jones. Use your number line to help you write an inequality comparing -5/8 and -3/4. So this time, instead of them being positive, they're going to be negative. And I'm going to use some different colors, and I'm going to put them up here on the number line. So -5/8 would put us right here. So that would be J for Jones. Then I'm going to use a yellow for Smith. And instead of 3/4, remember, we changed that to 6/8. But we're just going to carry that negative sign right on over. So 6/8 would put us right here. And this is S for, forgot her name, sorry, Smith. And now we're going to write an inequality using that information. So I'm just going to start it by rewriting with our first number. -5/8 is what to -3/4? So 5/8 is right here. It's farther to the right-hand side, so it is greater than. Remember, at any time, if you need to go back and look at it, make sure you pause it and go back in the video to watch it. Okay, we're going to scroll on down to this next question right here. So these questions, if you didn't notice, we did a lot inside of that question, and it's going to take more time because these questions are a little bit more complex. Okay, let's look at this question. The record low temperatures for 5 cities are negative 0.6 degrees Fahrenheit in Ashton, and Bars negative 1.7 degrees Fahrenheit, and Carl 0.7 degrees Fahrenheit, Davison 0.4 degrees Fahrenheit, and Edgeville negative 1.5 degrees Fahrenheit. We're going to graph the temperatures, but to be able to see that, I'm going to tap it in a little bit. I know it got a little blurry on the screen, but otherwise you're not going to be able to see it. So we're going to do that. I'm going to go in. And we have decimals. Let's count to see the lines first. Right now I'm thinking it's probably going to be by tens here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It is 10. So I'm going to get my color back. Ashton is negative 0.6. So we're going to the left-hand side and we're going to count to 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm putting my dot on and I'm going to mark it with an A. So Ashton's done. Bars is negative 1.7, so I have 1. And then we're going to count to 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 right here. And we're going to mark that with a B. Now it's important to mark them so that way it's easier to answer the questions below. Carl, we're positive. We're at 0.7. So we're going to go on the right-hand side 0 and count to 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We're going to put a C for Carl. Davison is 0.4, so it's positive. We're going to count to 4 on the right-hand side. 1, 2, 3, 4. We're going to put a D for Davison. And Edgeville, negative 1.5. So negative 1, it's on the left-hand side, 0, and then we're going to count 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right here, and we're going to mark it with an E. Instead of marking them with just a letter, you could write the full name if you want. I write too large for that, so I can't do that. And I want to spend more of the time on the actual math problems and not labeling. But it is important that you label them so you can more easily answer the questions down below. And I'm going to zoom out slightly because we're zoomed in really far right now. If you need to go back into the zoom part to look at the number line, make sure you're doing that. Okay, note the locations of the numbers for Bars and Edgeville. Ooh, sorry, my scrolling's not working good. Bars and Edgeville, they're right here on the left-hand side. They're pretty close together. Negative 1.7, which is Bars, is to the left. So we're going to circle left. That was a bad circle. Hopefully yours is better. I'm going to cross that right. Of negative 1.5. So Bars, low temperature, right here we have Bars, is going to be colder. Most of you could probably know that negative 1.7 is going to be colder than negative 1.5, but we have the visualization of the number line to help you out there. Now, complete the inequality in 2 different ways. So if we look down here at the inequality, on this one, it has negative 1.7 first. On this one, it has negative 1.5 first. So if I look at, we said that negative 1.7 is farther on the left-hand side, making it colder. So this is going to be less than. Now, they just flip the numbers. When you flip the numbers around, you flip the sign around. Negative 1.5 is on the right-hand side. It is right here. If you see my really terrible arrow I just drew. It is on the right-hand side. Numbers on the right-hand side are bigger than the numbers on the left-hand side, making it greater than. Whenever you flip the numbers, you flip the sign. So negative 1.7 is less than negative 1.5. Meaning negative 1.5 is greater than negative 1.7. Okay. Ooh, I did not want to do that. Let's scroll back up to the top of the screen. And we're going to talk about check understanding. Now, we just went over everything on the left-hand side. If you didn't get it all copied down, make sure you pause it and go back over and check it out a little bit. But this is to check understanding to see what you understood about those questions. So if you're doing this by yourself, or maybe there's a sub in my room, it needs to be paused for about 5-10 minutes. See what you can do by yourself and just the check understanding. Do not go down to what do you remember yet. We're just on check understanding. So pause it, do what you can on check understanding, and start it back up again when you've done what you can. Okay, let's see your check understanding. Number 1, researchers measured the thickness of the ice at several locations in the Antarctic and compared the measures to a long-term average thickness. A set of ice level data from the Antarctic Weather Station is shown, measured in meters. So that's what these numbers are right here. We have decimals, and we're going to graph them. I'm going to zoom in just slightly so you can see them a little better. Then I'm going to move this over, and we're going to get them on there. Our first one's at negative 1.2. So we have negative 1 right here. And I'm actually going to say what it is so I can answer the questions down there. Our next one's positive 2.6. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm hoping I'm getting on the right one because I'm not wearing my glasses right now, which is a bad decision. Then we have negative 1.3, which is right there. Then we have 1.8. If I'm going too fast for you, you can always pause it and replay it. 2.1. Negative 0.9, and 1.5. Okay, now we're going to answer the questions down here. Without even looking at the number line, you can probably determine what these ones are. We are doing inequalities, so less than or greater than. 2.6 is what to negative 0.9. Numbers don't matter in this case because this one over here is positive, so it always has to be greater. 1.8, which is right here on the number line, and 2.1. 1.8 is less than 2.1. And then I have negative 1.2 and negative 1.3. If you look to the left-hand side on the number line, they're right next to each other. Negative 1.2 is on the right, though. Negative 1.3 is on the left. So this is greater than. Is negative 1.5 to the left or right of negative 0.5? So 1.5 is positive, so it's going to be right. Because if we look over here, 1.5 is right here. Negative 0.9 is right here. 1.5 is to the right. Is negative 1.2 to the left or right of negative 2.1? So there's negative 1.2. And we don't have a negative 2.1 graphed on there because there wasn't a negative 2.1 because this is positive. But if I look at negative 1.2, it's right here. Negative 2.1 would be all the way over here. So negative 1.2 is to the right of it. And that's all there is in check understanding. When we come back to the next video, we will be on what do you remember. So if you need to rewatch this video, make sure you are doing that.